Hello everybody, it's the Aspie Life of Lisa, and in today's video I'm going to talk about being friends with someone on the autism spectrum. So if you like this video and you feel it's helpful, feel free to hit the like button, comment below, and subscribe to my channel, and I will tell you how to be friends with someone who is autistic. So this is important for neurotypicals. And for me, for the years, I've struggled making friends. I've struggled keeping them. And I've also learned different social roles along the way. And in an interview that I did at Durham College, it was through the Respect campaign, one of the questions that I was asked is, what would you say to a neurotypical on how to be friends with someone who's autistic? And so here's what I would do. Number one is get to know them. And one way to get to know a person on the spectrum, their special interests. Use some of their special interests as a way to connect with them. And with us, our special interests, we could go on and on and on about our special interests. But we don't always realize when we're hyper focusing on it so much. And what hyper focusing means is focusing on it over and over. And we don't always realize it. So if we're talking about it too much or it's not an appropriate time or place, make sure you point that out to the person on the spectrum, not in front of everybody, but gently pull them aside and just kind of remind them that it's not the time or place, depending on what it is. And sometimes they don't know. So it's best to just kind of word it in a very clear, specific way that they'll understand. Another thing I'm going to say is let them come to you. For me, I'm the type of person that if someone comes to me, it takes a while for me to go to them. And I don't like when people always come to me. I like to be the one to go to that person. It puts me more at ease, and that way I can watch people from a distance as opposed to somebody just coming up to me and just not knowing what to expect. And you can put yourself out there and say like, hey, if you want to do this, here's my number or whatever. But ultimately let them come to you, let them take that in and let them process it, and don't force anything on them. And be as open with them as possible. And it's important to be as clear and straightforward as possible. And I'm going to mention this about straightforwardness and being very, very clear with your intentions. I don't take to subtle hints. I've fallen victim to this a lot, or hidden implications. So what's the most important is that you're very, very clear with your wording. You're very clear with your intentions, and you're very clear on what the plan is going to be. So that way a person on the spectrum knows what to expect, and that there's no miscommunications or anything like that. And if a person on the spectrum, if they disclose to you that they are on the spectrum, don't take advantage of that. Don't give them any kind of pity stories. We don't disclose it out of pity. We disclose it so that you're aware. And one thing that you could do is ask the questions like where they are on the spectrum. Ask about things like, do they have certain sensory issues that they need to know? Is there anything like communication? Is there anything in your routine that I need to know? And the reason why is because in a hangout, you can be mindful of the routines. Like for me, I like to have things planned, and there are certain routines that are very valuable to me, like my gym time, my alone time. There are certain routines that I go by that I don't really like broken unless I prepare for it ahead of time. So keeping routines in mind and keeping things in mind too are sensory issues, like if there's certain noise sensitivities that they have, or certain smells or touch even, or even like clothing or anything like that. Keep those things, or even foods and stuff, really keep those things in mind. So that way, if you guys are going to go out somewhere, that you don't want to take them somewhere that's really noisy, and you don't want to set them up for a meltdown, and you most importantly don't want to set them up for failure. Another thing is planning, and let the person on the spectrum also have a say in what the plans are, and make it clear. If you guys have specific plans, make it clear what it is, what it will be. Let them have a say in it, and that's the most important, is letting them have a say in it. And say if there's other people that are going to be coming that say they haven't met, make it clear that if somebody new is going to be there, make it clear they're probably going to be there. Let them know, like, this is who you're going to meet, this is who's going to be there, this is what they're like personality wise, this is what you can talk to with them, and this is a touchy subject that you want to avoid when you meet them, and what to expect. That way, then they'll know. If a person on the spectrum is breaking, say, a social rule, it's best to pull the person aside and let them know kindly and gently, not in front of everybody, and just let them know, like, I didn't like it when you did this, and this is how it made me feel. Now, when a person on the spectrum is about to have a meltdown, the best thing to do is give them space. If they need to leave an event early, it's not personal towards you. It's because they've had enough and their battery is dead. It's basically, it takes a lot of social and mental preparation to go to things. And even when I'm out with a friend of mine to go, say, somewhere to eat or to go to an event, or if I'm going to a race, it takes a lot of mental preparation and it takes a lot of social preparation. And when it becomes too much, I'm basically drained. I'm basically out of spins. And what that means is that it can get to a point that if I overstay while I'm drained, that's basically asking for a meltdown. So don't put your friend in a position to don't set them up for a meltdown. Don't set them up to meltdown. If they have things of comfort, like for me, I'll bring some knitting if I'm going on a train ride, or if I'm with a group, then I have something of comfort, or my stress ball. And that's my thing that I have. Or if I have to, when I'm at a restaurant, I have to get up and go to the bathroom, it's because I need that time specifically to recharge. It's important to let the person on the spectrum, let them have their time to recharge, but in a meltdown, leave them be. Leave them be, give them their space, and also ask them, what do they need at this moment? What can you do to help? If they're isn't anything you can do, then sometimes it's best to just leave them be, because you might think you're trying to help, but you could actually be making the meltdown a lot worse. For me, I'll tell you what I need. And if they do leave suddenly without saying goodbye, don't take it personally as if they're trying to hurt you. They just need an exit. So it's important that they give them an exit out of an event or somewhere where you guys go. And when it comes to canceling plans, try not to cancel plans at the last minute if you can help it. And if there's going to be a sudden change, give as much notice as possible. Give notice ahead of time, because for neurotypical, they can go on or whatever. For a person on the spectrum, it's anxiety times 10. I know for me, when there's a sudden routine change, I know I get anxious, but I need to have the time, the space to really process it, and give your friend that chance to just process that change. When it does come, and if you still want to remain friends with them or you want to hang out with them, let them know. Let the person know, be very clear. And if you don't want to be friends with them anymore, tell them. That way, the person on the spectrum will know it's important that someone on the spectrum knows where they stand. And this is going back to clear communication. So if you wanted to say, start a friendship with them or whatever, make that very clear and be straightforward. And if you don't, say it's a situation you don't want to be friends with them anymore, tell them and have this conversation with them in person and be clear. You don't need to be rude about it, but just be very clear. Be very clear about it. And again, if they did something wrong, tell them so they have the opportunity to fix it. And that way they can try. And just remember, I'm like everybody else. I know I have a different way of seeing the world. My brain is just wired differently. But it doesn't mean I'm like anybody else. And disclosing a diagnosis too, I think it's good to disclose the diagnosis. Ask the person, ask their permission. For me, if someone's like, oh, can I share your diagnosis? I would like that, only so that way there's no misinterpretations. That way there's no miscommunication. And that way people know why I do certain things. And ask them questions if you're not sure. Like, hey, I notice you do this or you do that. Why is that? Is it part of that? Ask them. And that way they have a chance to educate you on why they do this and what this means to them. And again, let them come to you on their own time, at their own pace. So take the friendship, take it more at their pace. I know it can be hard, but take it at their pace as much as possible and let them work their way up to that. And that's how there's been friendships I've had. But again, like keeping friends for me, there are friends that I've kept and then there's friends that I've lost. But I found being open about what I have has really helped. I know this is a long video, but I wanted to make this as informative as possible. If you like this video and find it helpful, feel free to like the video. Comment below on any of your tips or tricks and questions. Subscribe to my channel, and I hope this video was helpful. Peace out.